OK, well, we're joined by our first of the guests, which is Frank Warren. How are you, Frank? You all right, mate?
I'm good, thanks. How are you, chaps?
I'm good. I heard the comment about how long it's going to time to put our makeup on. How's your back, by the way, today?
The old haystack is struggling.
The rumour is that your back's done because you're carrying around all that Saudi money all the time.
Well, that's what it is, mate. The weight of it's wearing me down.
Tell me about Moses Itauma. Big fight coming up, big event for him. What's the thinking now about putting him into a situation where he's headlining a show, Frank?
Well, it's happened very quickly for a young guy, 20 years of age, and but he's in it. That's the spot he's in. He's had some really good results over the last couple of years. Some really good results against good fighters, and the way he's gone about his business has been quite impressive. So this is a big step up for him against a guy in Dillian Whyte, who has been there, has done it, is confident, and from a dangerous point of view, knows that his last chance saloon. So he believes that he has the experience and the ability to give Moses some problems and beat him. So this is going to be a big step up for him, and it's going to be a test for both of them.
Yeah, Frank,
what they've got.
You've been great over the years at navigating careers and taking the right fights at the right time. We had this conversation, we've had numerous conversations about Moses and just how good he is and the potential and when you let him go. And this is a massive step up against Dillian Whyte. You go, Dillian's only lost to the very best at the top there. So it is a calculated gamble, isn't it?
It is. And in most of the cases, if he has lost, it's been in very, very good fights. So it's just going to be a gauge to see where Moses is. His team, he's managed by my son, Ben Davison, the team, they all believe that they believe in him like I do, and they feel that this is a fight that he, at this stage of his career, can win. But one thing's for sure, we're going to see what he's all about. We're going to see what he's all about, and in some ways it's part of the Riyadh season show. It's on the 16th of August in Riyadh, and it's on neutral territory, so there's no home advantage for anybody. And that'd be quite interesting as well.
I'm going to ask you a minute, Spence, about how highly you rate Moses, but I wanted to ask you, Frank, about how did you get to the point that it was Dillian? I mean, it came out of left field. I know that you do these things, regularly in terms of making fights that people don't always see coming out of the ether. Why Dillian? Was it an opportunity? And how was it sold to Dillian? Because it feels to us, and it may well be that we're being a little bit one-dimensional, that Dillian's going to be used to promote Moses Itauma. Which is a great opportunity for Moses to be in, but not so great for Dillian to be in that place.
Well, if he is being used, he's getting a big payday for it. That's for sure.
No, I don't mean like that, Frank. I don't mean like that.
I understand what you're saying. No, I understand what you're saying. I hear what you're saying, and I know you're not. I understand exactly where you're coming from. But the fact of the matter is, the fight is, with Turki Al-Sheikh. We had the discussions and we talked about a few opponents, and it wasn't just Dillian. There was Derek Chisora's name came up, as did a couple of other guys. But it seemed the only one who really wanted to take the fight was Dillian, which says a lot about him. Yeah. So that's how it comes to. I mean, look, their main event there. Well, sorry, main event. It's a joint main event with Nick Ball's fight, but I mean, it's a cracking card, and Moses is eager to please. He's really looking forward to it, and we're gonna, as I say, we're gonna see, because I don't take anything for granted in boxing, and you can't take anything for granted. And if he comes through, brilliant. If he doesn't, it'll be something that hopefully he'll learn from. But I do believe in this boy, and I've believed in him for a long, long time.
Yeah, Frank, Moses is #1 with the WBO. We know the interim champion is Joseph Parker. If he comes through with Dillian Whyte, we've had this conversation off record as well, and you go how far away would he be from having that world title vote? Because he comes through this one, he could effectively, if Alexander Usyk decides to relinquish after, this mandated time, if he decides to relinquish, he could effectively be in line to fight Joseph Parker for the vacant WBO title.
All of that is absolutely true and right. However, it's how he looks in this fight before we think about the next fight. This fight is the one that matters. That's all we're focusing on, and it's how he looks in it. And as I say, from my perspective, I don't take anything for granted. Dillian is a competitor. You know, he's signed with us. He's with us for a reason. He signed with us because he believed we would deliver the big fights for him. And that's what we're doing for both these guys. This is a big, big fight and a big moment in both their careers.
Does it make any difference to him, Frank Moses? Is he aware of the exposure that headlining? I know you're saying that Nick Ball is joint headlining, but they'll look at the heavyweights. The boxing world and everyone looking around him will look at the heavyweights. Does it add an extra component part for Moses? Or are you just convinced that this kid is ready to have anything thrown at him, irrespective of the circumstances?
I feel that as he's been moving forward, you know, he's done everything that's been asked of him, but even more, he's done it in style, and he's done it with for a young man, with a lot of composure, a lot of professionalism. You know, he ticks all those boxes, and this is the next step for him. This is the step up. This is a big step up for him. You know, in more ways than one, because I think even the lead up to the fight, excuse me, you know, I look at things like the press conferences, the week of the press conferences next week. I look at the face-offs, the head-to-heads, all this stuff. This ought to be quite interesting time, because he's in with a guy who's been there and done it, got all the medals, a street guy, a tough guy. You know, it's going to be a you and Francis must think with all that, because that's the added layer that I'm talking about, which is not just what he's got to go and do in the ring, but all the expectation as a result of him now being front and centre. You and Francis must now think that he's ready to do that, because personality is part of the boxing world as well, isn't it? That's correct. And but the thing is with him, as I say, he conducts himself really well. I mean, he's not like a Jack the Lad or a braggart. I mean, he does his talking in the ring. He's quite respectful to all his opponents. But he's up for this. You know, he wants it. And, you know, lots of young fighters want to be stepped up very quickly. They want to move into the big time. And it's our job to hopefully guide them correctly. You know, this is a fight that we considered it. We considered the next move, considered it. And I've got high regard for Dillian. I know that Dillian's going to get the best out of him, and it's going to be is the best that he gets out of him going to be good enough?
Well, let's hear what Dillian Whyte has to say about Moses himself.
He's dangerous. Listen, like I said earlier, he's been compared to Mike Tyson and all these ferocious guys, you know. And I look at the comparison. Who have I ever been compared to in the 80s and the 90s? Not even. Let me see. Who is there? Not even a gatekeeper, a journeyman. So, you know, it's the biggest fight of my life and career. You know, obviously, everyone's saying how great he is, or this he is, and this and the other. So, yeah, I'm approaching it with that mindset. It's the biggest, hardest fight, the hardest puncher, the quickest puncher, the fastest guy, the strongest guy, the most intelligent, the most patient boxer. Everyone portray him as a superhuman and as, you know. So, yeah, that's how I'm approaching the fight. I'm fighting Superman.
I mean, Frank, Dillian refers to him as Superman here. We've heard Tyson Fury, one of your former charges, who's retired again apparently, talk about him in previous interviews. Oh, no, I don't want to fight Moses Itauma. Is there a danger, Frank, that there's too much hype being built around this kid at this moment in time? Yeah,
there is. Of course there is. I mean, you know, everybody's saying put him in for a world title now, do this, do that. And as I say, that's our job is to pick the right moment. I say it loads and loads of times. The best punches are the best time punches, and the best matchmaking is the best time matches. But you listen to Dillian; he hit the nail on the head there. He says what it is. He knows what he's got to do. He knows what he's going into. He's not just showing up. I know he's been training his arse off for this fight in a big way. And he's gonna bring a lot in there, and he's gonna bring all that experience he's got, all of it to the fight. And I think for Moses, this is gonna be a monumental moment in his career.
I think what Dillian Whyte was saying there, you know, I think from a fighter's perspective, when you know there's so much hype around someone like Moses, Dillian recognises that, and that will bring the best out of him, what stage he's at in his career right now, Frank. You know that as well. You go, so if he wins this fight, Moses Itauma, he has established himself on that world stage. And then you've got limitations on where you go with next opponents, etc., etc. And the question is going to be, when is that world title shot going to go?
Well, all those questions will be answered after the fight. if he comes through it, we're going to know if he's ready or not to be progress further. But, you know, he's done everything, as I say, that's been asked of him, everything, all the way through from being a kid, all the way through, won the Europeans, amateurs, knocked everybody out, the World Championships, had everybody on the floor. The ones he didn't knock out, he floored them. He's a phenomenal prodigy. However, each step at this stage of his career is a big step, and this one for him is the biggest step. This is going to be something that I hope will bring the best out of him and will bring out of him what we believe is there. I mean, we've seen lots of flashes of it. We've seen the way he's beaten very, very experienced fighters and the way he's beaten them. It's not just winning the fight, it's how you win the fight. And he's done it in unbelievable style. You know, I'm repeating myself, you know, his composure, the way he picks his shots, the way he makes people make mistakes, and more importantly, his speed. You know, he's got great footwork. His speed is great. His hand speed's good. You know, he is without a doubt. You know, I think he's probably the best, if you want to call him prospect still, in the world of boxing. But he's in with somebody who absolutely believes that he has the tools, not just physically but mentally, to beat them.
If he does a number on Dillian, and I'm going to ask you what you think that looks like in a moment, but if he does a number on Dillian and does it in such a compelling style, in a way that he's done with Marius Wack, in the way that he did with Dempsey and McKee, I mean, you've got Joe Parker as well, haven't you? He's in your stable as well.
Yeah.
How difficult or how realistic is it to see a fight with Joe Parker? If it happens what people expect it to happen, and I know it's all supposition, that Usyk vacates the WBO belt, is it a realistic outcome that you can make Moses Itauma, if he's as convincing as we think he might be against Dillian, with all due respect to Dillian, is it realistic to assume that you could make the fight between Joe Parker and Moses Itauma on the Saudi bill at the end of December for the world title for the WBO?
What has happened is that the WBO, prior to the Dubois and Usyk fight, they made it very clear that the next mandatory will be theirs, because that's the next one in line.
Which is Joe.
And which is Joe Parker, who's their interim champion. WBO, unlike some of the governing bodies, don't like multiple champions. They like one champion in each division. So they've ordered that. If the fight doesn't take place between Alexander Usyk and Joe Parker, then they will then order the next available contender. And the next available contender is in the ratings Moses. But whether it will be him, if all these things did happen, depends on the outcome of that fight.
But would you be behind it? Would you be in favour of that?
Depends how he looks in the fight,
right,
Simon.
Fair enough. And so let me ask you the closing question on Moses. What is your forecast for this fight?
I think he's going to be in a tough fight. I know he's got the punch power to hurt and stop Dillian Whyte, but I also know that Dillian Whyte also has the punch power to cause damage. And the one thing with Moses at the moment is not that's not been tested. So we'll see.
But do you think are you still a bit tough fight, but you expect him to stop him?
I expect him. I believe he will win the fight. I believe he'll win the fight. How he wins it, we'll see. For me, beating him is a big thing. Right. However he does it, you know, and I want to see the other side of him as well. I want to see him. You know, I want to see him in a tough 12-round fight where he comes through it and boxes his way through it. You know, he's not a one-trick pony. He can box, but as I say, you know. This is a tough one. This is going to be. This is a fans' fight.
Yeah, it's a great fight.
That's what it is. It is a fans' fight.
I tell you what is also an interesting fight and a huge opportunity created for David Adelaide is Filip Hrgovic. Now, this is a big opportunity for David. He didn't look great against Jamie TKV. I've got a lot of time for Adam Booth. I think Adam Booth is a very interesting character, and he talks about rising to the challenge. And ultimately, the reasons why the TKV fight didn't look as good as it could have done was because he wasn't challenged by TKV. He will be challenged by Filip Hrgovic. This is a good fight, Frank.
He's going to have to rise to the challenge. You know, Hrgovic no slouch. You know, Daniel beat him, and he showed what he's all about before that fight, and certainly the first 3 rounds of that fight with Daniel Dubois. He was catching him with good shots. He's an accomplished fighter, and he beat Big Bang.
Yep.
and done a job on him. And this is a major step up for David Adelaide. Make no mistake about it. I mean, this is a huge, huge step up in class for him. So he's going to have to rise to the challenge, because if he doesn't, he'll get beat.
Yeah, it's one of those, Frank, isn't it, where I think that Herovic is established on that world stage. You know, he's proven on that world stage, and he's proven his toughness as well. And with David Adelaide, again, it's very much a coming-of-age fight for him here, and going into unknown territory for Adelaide as well, where Herovic has delivered, been there at that level. This is a huge gamble for Adelaide going in at this time.
And it is, and his team asked for it. I mean, they drove us mad for this fight. I've got to be honest, it wouldn't have been one I picked, but they drove us mad. He wants to be challenged, and he will be, and he will be challenged. This is again, he's in with somebody who's been there. I mean, I think he was IBF mandatory for 2 years, and no one wanted to fight him. He was the guy no one wanted to fight until Daniel Dubois fought him. And again, for Herovic, he can't afford to lose this at his age. He needs to win. He needs to win this fight. So for both of them, it's a telling fight. I mean, the whole card, every fight on the card is a quality fight. They're all main events in their own right.
Talking about the card, can I talk to you about Nick Ball? I mean, obviously Nick Ball's been on an impressive run of form. I think he was robbed in the Ray Vargas fight. And should be holding that belt as well. I think he deserved to win Ray Ford, and rightly so. A couple of fights that I felt like I wasn't that hugely enamoured by the opposition. He did his job against Ronnie Reyes and did his job against TJ Dahoney. You've got him in against Sam Goodman. How much of a challenge is this? Because this is his first fight at his weight class.
Yeah, but I mean, the fighters he fought, you've got to remember, the guys he went in with were very experienced fighters, and they brought the best out of him. And you know, and look at the fights he had. He's a young guy. You can't every fight you have go in with the best. You know, he got robbed in that fight, as you quite rightly said, Simon. Yeah. The next one after that was 3 months later, in with a tougher fighter and a tough fight, and done the job in that. Yeah. Then he had another tough one. I mean, you know, he's done everything that's been asked.
My point is, and I'm very happy, and you won't like my terminology. I think he deserved a gimme. Right, I think against Reyes. I know you won't agree with that, but he's a top 15 fighter. I know you won't agree with that, but I look at Nick Ball and think, okay, there's other champions in those weight classes. Why isn't he getting his opportunity to fight for the other belts rather than fighting a Sam Goodman, who's number 5 in the world, that's not fought at this weight class? Other fighters that aren't really at the same level as the other world champions. Why isn't he fighting for the other belts, Frank?
Because they won't fight.
It's as simple as that.
As simple as that. They've been offered. All of them have been offered that fight. No one wants to fight him.
So does all roads...
That's a fact of life. That's what happened. There was but this again is going to be a tough fight for him. He's not in with someone who's just coming to make up the numbers. Goodman's a good fighter, and he'll give him a good fight. Do I think he'll win? Yeah, I do, because I believe in him. That's what I believe he's one of the best young fighters in the world.
He is.
And he's not far off being the best in his weight category in the world.
Yeah, Goodman stepping up for the first time to featherweight from super bantam, but he's unbeaten in 20, 8 O's by KO. Correct. He comes to have a fight, Frank, and I think stylistically he'll see this as a great opportunity. That's what these fighters are getting right now, is opportunity. That's the world that we're living in, and that makes him a dangerous opponent. You know, with the talk of big fights on the horizon, you know, for Nick Ball, and we've talked about it, and I keep harping on about it. Naoya Inoue is the fight that everyone wants to see. If the other champions won't fight him, is that a possibility? We could see Naoya Inoue, Nick Ball, if he comes through.
That's what we're building up to. He's got to keep winning. If he does that, we're hoping we do that in the new year. That's a fabulous fight. I would love that fight for him, because I believe in the styles and make fights, etc., all those adages. For me, I generally believe that Nick Ball would give Inoue a real problem.
Moving on from Nick, you were vulturing over the decaying corpse of Boxer next last week by taking Josh Buatsi. What's the thinking behind bringing back Buatsi into your stable?
Well, we're very strong in that division, in the light heavyweight division. I think we've got most of the top stars are with us. Anthony Yard's fighting Benavides later this year again in Riyadh. We got some fabulous light heavyweights there, and there's some brilliant fights to be made. And all eyes is going to be on that fight with Anthony and Benavidez, and these guys are going to be vying to be the next guy in there. We're going to do a show, which we're going to announce, which will be all light heavyweight show. We're doing that with, I think it's about 4 or 5 really good quality light heavyweight fights on there. We'll be announcing that soon. So you can see all these guys in action. It's going to be a bit like the heavyweight division, the best fighting the best.
Yeah, it makes it a lot easier, doesn't it, Frank, when you've got them all under one umbrella. And Joshua Buatsi, who was in that incredible fight with Callum Smith, you go like, look, the fight we've always talked about, we always wanted to see Buatsi versus Yard. It's a fight that should have happened by now, hasn't happened, but now you can make that possible. If Yard does well against Benavidez, or even if he loses against Benavidez, the Buatsi fight's still very much there, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of permutations. I mean, it's some really, really good light heavyweights there. We just signed a European champion. You know, it's going to be as exciting as the heavyweights. There will be some great fights there, and there's some fabulous fights to be made.
I mean, obviously, you know, with Yard and Buatsi in the same way, a lot of people would like. I'd like to see the Yard-Buatsi fight happen at some point. And the one thing that Yard, I had various discussions with you about last year about Yard and his trainer turned in. Now a cord's broken out. The one thing that Yard can't do anything other than do is thank you, because you've got in Kovalov, you've got in Beterbiev, and now you've got in Benavidez. And these are all great opportunities that you created for him. So some of the nonsense that was going on last year I thought was a bit silly. But if he loses this world title fight against Benavidez, which I think he will, because I think he's a noble loser. I like him as a fighter, but he's gained his reputation of impressive losses. Is it likely that we're ever going to see Buatsi versus Yard?
Well, I'm quite sure it's a fight everybody wants to see. I'd still like to see it, whatever happens. But again, Simon, it's how you lose. And as you say, he's a noble loser. Hopefully, he's going to be a noble winner. But whatever happens, that is always a big fight. That's always going to be a big fight.
I mean, listen, this sounds like a stupid question because you're telling me, I say, because I'm the promoter. What's Josh Buatsi's reason for joining Queensberry? I know he will get away from boxing because they've no longer got the Sky gig, but what was his motivation to come to you guys?
We're the best promoters.
Yeah, I suppose it's a stupid question.
Frank, I wanted to ask you about that light heavyweight show that you was talking about as well. You know, Joshua Buatsi is obviously going to be involved in that one. Will that be here in England?
What,
the light heavyweight show that you're talking about, all the different light heavyweights.
It'd be a great British fight, wouldn't it?
Yeah. No, I mean the show that you were talking about.
If Anthony was to come through, world title fight, and there's the Riyadh season, and that type of money's around, who knows? But just to see it, to get the fight on, would be great. If it's in the UK, that's great for the British fans.
Absolutely. How's Daniel Dubois doing 2 weeks after the fight?
Sorry?
How's Daniel Dubois doing, Frank? 2 weeks after the fight.
I haven't spoke to. They're in Brazil at the moment. I spoke to them very briefly before they went, and I think it's going to be good when they come back that we can sit down now a bit more calm and collected and say what we got to say, about the fight. A few things I've got in my mind that I want to discuss with them, but it's I don't know. It was disappointing how it turned out for me and for him, but for me it was.
We were talking, this is a trip down sort of amnesia lane to some extent. It's what media wants to do all the time, which is draw parallels between people. We were talking about Usyk and where he ranks in the pantheon of heavyweights. You being 173 years of age, you've seen most of them. So when you look at it and you think about him, and we were looking at Lennox, we were looking at Tyson, we're looking at Muhammad Ali, we're looking at Vladimir Klitschko, we're looking at Larry Holmes. All of those you would have seen and looked at and studied. How does Usyk, given the fact he's a Brit slayer and everyone's put in against him, he's dealt with, how do you think he ranks against that all-time list, Frank?
Look, he's up there in the top 10. He's up there in the top 10 with all those guys. I mean, there's other guys that have been left out from there, like Joe Louis and, Rocky Marciano. Yeah. And people talk about if they were fighting today. And I look at also if they were fighting those guys, if say Usyk was fighting those guys back in their era.
Yeah.
So you look at it different ways. I mean, it's like football matches. Who's the best footballer of all time?
But who's your greatest heavyweight? Personally, who do you think? I'm asking Frank Warren, who is his greatest heavyweight? Who is your greatest heavyweight?
It's a tough one for me. I'd say Ali for the obvious, for obvious reasons. And you look at, he's got losses on his record. He's not an undefeated fighter. I put up there in my top 4 Sonny Liston. I mean, everybody don't talk about him. He was a great fighter. This guy was fighting. When he fought Ali, he was in his 40s.
Absolutely.
He was an old guy. Great. No one wanted to fight him.
Frank,
Larry Holmes for me is one of the greatest heavyweights out there. You know, the most fantastic jab, chin, and what I mean by chin, people who have good chins are people who get off the floor when they go down. You know, warriors, and these guys were fighting in the days of 15-round fights,
Absolutely.
not 12 rounds.
Absolutely, wars. Listen, I can't let you go without asking you, do you have any particular wonderful birthday wishes for Turki Al-Sheikh? Have you seen that wonderful bit of arse kissing from Michael Buffer about how wonderful Turkey is on his birthday? Do you have any messages that you wish to impart to Turkey on his birthday?
I've already done my one. I sent him my birthday greeting this morning. It's very personal.
Very good. Very good.
I wished him a happy day with his family and many more birthdays to come.
Very good.
We saw that on Instagram, Frank. Very nice.
Very good. Nice to see you, mate. Keep well. See you soon.
And you fellas, God bless.